Well, hello there. I want to continue on with this. I need to draw out the tang and I need to fix what I messed up with my previous efforts. The problem is, what I was trying to do is by having the edge hanging off here, striking around here to push the piece down, which would bring the tang up, which would also stretch it out, which was working fine when I was just working on one edge. But as I started to flip it around and work on it and whatnot, my strikes weren't very accurate. So I was moving all over the place and it was slowly bending this whole top edge to the curve that it currently has. And I'd really like this top edge to be fairly flat. So once I'm back into forging, I'll probably bring this shape back to where I wanted it. But I need to find a means of forging the tang down. And I think I may have an idea. Whether that idea will work or not, I don't know. But the plan will be to make some sort of a tool which will allow me to clasp the tang between two surfaces, and then when I hammer down it'll pinch just between the two square edges. I don't know if I'm explaining that well enough. You'll see what I mean once I've done it. The main concern I have is that I only have mild steel. I don't have tool steel or anything. So this may be like a one-shot kind of deal where I'll get one use out of the tool before it's deformed and all sorts. And I have a rough idea. I don't really know how to make it work though. I'm think about it for another minute and I'll just get into it when I figure it out. Slight change of plan. I found some round stock instead of the square stock, which I think I'll use because when you use a curved surface, it places all the energy into moving the steel this way and not so much outwards, whereas square, because you're just compacting it straight down, it's sort of trying to go in every direction all at once. Not that I actually know what I'm talking about. So now I have to figure out how to make a jig or a tool. Okay. Now the question is going to be, how do I have another piece on top to keep this in place and strike down on top while holding this piece on a handle back here? How do I keep this in place? I think some channel may be the answer. Good grief. $145 millimeters. So it's tipping either way really easily. So I just put these little antennae on it, which stop it from being able to shift too much. I do think that when I'm forging, these might bend, but whatever. I've lost the shape that I wanted originally, so I'm going to spend a couple of minutes fixing that first, and then we'll come back and see how my little jig works. Well, you can see it's definitely drawn it out. However, it pretty much straight away broke off one of my little antennas, bent this one. Turns out I didn't leave myself a massive window. So I was wailing on these things quite a few times. But hey, it kind of worked. Alright, well, we're sort of getting there. Oh, this thing's hot. It's getting a little bit hammered. Hammered. It's getting pretty dinged up, but I think it'll get me through this project. So far, this is working well except for these welds breaking. Alright, now I've got to eliminate all the bumps. It's pretty curved from here to here. I want to try and get the tang straight. I'm not 100% sure on how, but I'll figure it out. I'm pretty happy with that. So now I'm just deliberately heating it up so that it forms a bit of scale, which I can brush off so that I'm left with a fairly nice piece. I've got to admit, having the tool to draw this out, having this thing, really made that a lot easier. So now I have a better understanding of having a curved surface and how that makes a difference. But because I was fairly aggressive, and rather than putting it in here and hammering it, take it out and flatten off the sides and put it back in, because I was fairly aggressive and just took it down heaps before taking it out again, it did form these ridges down the center where it kind of got bowed out on the sides a little and then squashed down on itself. I'm not real worried because I'm gonna grind all that out anyway. I think I'm pretty happy with the way this has turned out. Once it cools off, I guess it'll be time to clean it up nice with some grinding and get it to the profile that I want before I then move on to bevels. So now the laborious task of grinding this begins. So I've removed all the forge scale, and the reason you want to do that is forge scale is extremely hard and it will wreck your sander belts. So use an angle grinder to remove that and then use the belt sander, bench grinder to do the rest. Next step will be actually figuring out the profile I want. I think I got this thing to a shape I'm quite happy with to begin with. All I really did was trace the outline with a marker and mark out where I'm going to cut in for the tang. Other than that, this needs to be just a little bit flatter. And other than that, I think I'm pretty happy with the overall shape of it. So from here I'm just going to keep sort of fiddling with this until it's the way that I want it. That was a lot of grinding. Just down to 40 grit, so it was real rough and ugly. Got the tang, it comes down a little more than I'd like. I could grind away more and bring it sort of like into a triangular shape. I don't think it's going to be that big of an issue. A bigger issue is that it's thinner here than it is here. I'm not really sure how to fix that. I may be able to sort of rectify that as I'm doing the bevels and whatnot. For now, I've got it to the profile that I think I'm going to want, but right now I'm sick of grinding. I've been doing it for like 2 hours. So for now, I'm just going to give it a rest and come back when I know exactly what it is I want to do next. Just got home from work and I've decided that I'm going to call it here. I'm going to end this video here and upload a midweek video. Keep it a bit shorter than usual. Struggling to keep my video lengths down in time, so maybe 2 smaller ones are a bit easier to digest. So now that I've got a rough profile, that's where I'll call it. And in the next video, I'll work on my bevels and I don't know, maybe something else. Cheers for sticking around. Catch you next time.